Well, hello there, gorgeous. Welcome back. I am excited to welcome you to today's episode with the awesome Melissa Burkheimer. She is a brand strategist and a designer. So we are going to be talking today about branding and about how branding is not just a logo. There are so many things that go into a brand, and yet so many business owners just think of it from a design perspective and focus on the logo. So we're going to talk about what having a brand really means and how that should be consistent kind of across every aspect of your business. So I'm super excited to chat with Melissa. You can check out the show notes at www.businessstraightetup.com. And if you click on the podcast link on the left-hand side, you will see all of the show notes for today's and all past episodes. So without further ado, let's jump in and chat with Melissa. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome, let's get going and dive right in. Welcome, creative entrepreneurs. I am so excited for the guest that we have today. We're going to talk about branding and some awesome other fun stuff too. But I want to welcome Melissa Burkheimer from melissaburkheimer.com. She is a creative director for influential brands, and we have some fun stuff to talk about. Welcome, Melissa.
Welcome. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so grateful to be here with you and your Business Straight Up peeps. Is that what you call them?
Yeah. I feel like we need a title or something fun.
Well, I'm just grateful and really excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
So let's talk a little bit first about kind of your story. Like, what were you doing when you decided that you needed more creativity in your life and your work? And what did that transition look like when you decided to go out on your own as a freelancer?
So when I went to school to be a graphic designer / journalist. Like, the major was actually called graphic journalism. But after I graduated, I got married, had baby number 2, and I wasn't really in full on career mode. I was more in mom mode. And 3 years after I graduated, I just got really anxious because I wanted to be doing something creative. At the time, I really didn't care if it was writing or design or even photography or something, because I had a minor in photography and I was trained in both design and writing. But there just really wasn't an opportunity where I was working. But this was back in 2007, 2010 probably. And back at the time, you couldn't work from home or have flexible scheduling. And that was a really awesome, ideal thing when you have little kids at home.
Yes.
So, and it snowed. So I had a job. So for me, that perk outweighed everything until it did, because I just wanted to be creative. So I started to go network. I printed business cards 3 or 4 times, and I would do volunteer design work. So I did some logo designs for events and some t-shirt design for fundraisers and lots of little projects like that for free early on. And I always did my friends' kids' birthday invitations until they realized I was sick of it and didn't ask me anymore. But yeah, I just was so early in the morning before I would go to work, over lunch, or in the evening when we had a free night, which is not really often when we have children.
Yes.
I would just go network and meet people. And then eventually I got my first paying clients, and I was charging $20 an hour at the time, which seemed like lots of money because I gave myself a $2.50 hour raise. And it ended up being really great because I was doing logo design and business card design and a little bit of brochure design initially. But then when I had my first year and filed my taxes, I actually had a loss.
That's hard.
So yeah, it wasn't necessarily it was a big deal because I was still working for most of it. But it's I didn't learn, okay, you need to budget for taxes. You're going to need to buy a computer. I bought, whenever I earned the money, I went and bought what I needed. So I bootstrapped everything, but I still didn't really have any money. I didn't really pay myself for the first couple of years, which was okay because I was still working. But it was really great to just get paid to be creative. I was just so, so excited to be doing that. And when I had the loss on my taxes, I realized I needed to kind of change something. That's how it happened.
That's really hard because I know that when I went into business, I didn't think that I would ever see a loss on my taxes. Like, that struck me when the first time that happened. And I was like, what the hell happened?
Yeah. Yeah. And again, it wasn't like, I don't think I was even sad about it. It was just like, oh, well, what do I do now? Like, I just realized, I just knew that wasn't going to work. So yeah, but no, it's not fun, but it's a fun story to tell.
I totally understand. And you have 2 kids then?
Yes.
And that is a huge, I think, reason for so many women to go into owning their own business, because they want the flexibility. They want to be there when the kids get home from school. They want to be there in the morning to take them to school, even though some mornings we don't.
You don't. Yeah, and that was a big part of it too. Like, I had my little one, like, their grandparents, like my husband's grandma and my mother-in-law, like, would watch them, and I would take a couple of days off from work, or I would work from home. But he was going to go to preschool 4 days a week from 8:15 to 11:30. So what would happen is I would drive to work 30 minutes away. And for most big cities, that's normal. Where I live in Des Moines, Iowa, and that's like a long commute for me. So I would drive to work and I would be there for 2 hours, and then I would just have to turn around and come back home. So when I actually did quit my job was literally the month that he went to 4-year-old preschool, and I was able to take him and pick him up, which was super cute too, just because I didn't have to worry about childcare.
That is huge. Childcare is a huge investment, and so many people that are considering, do I stay home? Do I work? Do I do all of these things? It's something to consider for sure.
Oh, absolutely. But I've been pretty fortunate that it hasn't been a huge cost for us over the years.
Perfect. Because you were able to kind of build your schedule around what your family needed.
Yeah. And just because I had people to help me, like I had a friend who worked part-time. So we actually swapped each other's kids for a year. So 1 day a week.
Oh,
so
nice.
one day I would have her kids and the other day she would have my kids.
That's perfect.
So yeah. And then I have a girlfriend who does childcare, in-home childcare as well. So, and plus my husband's grandparents.
Nice. Oh, that's so nice.
Yes.
So what was it? I know that we had kind of talked about you took any client on that would pay you. And at first, when you're in business, you're like, yes, this is amazing. And then you start to think differently. So what was it that changed for you when you went from give me all the clients to thinking more like a big picture designer, more of a CEO role?
So in full disclosure, I don't really even think I thought like that until like 2 years ago.
Really?
Really? Yeah, no. Even though I was making decent money and I was working, but I really just realized that like there's something beyond this whole, okay, $20 an hour business card logo, $20 an hour business card logo. Like there was something better. So what ended up happening was I attracted like 6 clients that were local. And I bumped my rates up to $50 an hour. And again, these were all found through networking and just building relationships and online and off. Cause this was back when social media was around, but it was still very new.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked with like a fitness studio, a credit union, a taxi company, a medical consulting company, a florist, and there was one more business that was just like a different genre, but not a different genre, but they're just like, it's not very common. And I would do work for them when they needed it. So I gave myself a raise to $50 an hour because someone told me that that's what designers should make. I added on social media consulting because that was, again, something that was very new. And I was doing work for them as they needed it. So it was an easy offering to offer the social media consulting there for a little bit because it was just an added value to the client. No one really knew what to do. And this was back when like you would see everybody's Facebook like page posting. That's not. And it was great because I was probably making between, $1,000 to $2,000 a month. And again, I like, just to be clear, like in my household, that may not seem like a lot of money to you, or that might seem like a ton of money to you. I worked part-time and took care of my children, and I still do that. I mean, I make more than that now, but my goal was never to be like a 6-figure business owner. Like I didn't even care about that. I just wanted to be making a decent amount of money, working a few hours here and there, and just that was really great for me until it wasn't, because you go from the clients where you have like the one-off project, but then having the ongoing work is really nice because you could slow down on the networking. You could slow down on the marketing. You could slow down on everything else and just have work sent to you and just do the easy work, and it would, you were paid for it. So it was really, it was just nice to kind of have that change of pace in my business, and people that would pay me on time, and people that were respectful of my time, they just, so it was definitely an upgrade from the $20 an hour. But then again, you go through that thing where like you realize there's more.
Yes. And what someone makes is subjective. $100 may be a lot to someone. It may be nothing to someone else. But when you start to work consistently in your business, you start to realize that there are more opportunities than maybe you had even imagined.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the case. Like I probably was making a little bit more than that towards the end of working with those clients, but it was just nice because I had the work coming in. Between the 5 of them, there was enough work to keep me busy, but not overly busy to where I was bringing in consistent money without having to for it.
Well, and then that whole feast and famine cycle of being in business for yourself, when you have that consistent work, it just makes everything much easier.
Yeah. And it was different because like these clients like paid me, and it was like fun to go have lunch with them. And like one of like the yoga studio owner, or it was a fitness studio, but they offered yoga. She's like, come, I'm going to sign you up for a free year subscription to classes. And it's like, what? This is so awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it was really great.
It is totally different when you start to build those relationships instead of just being a service provider.
Yes.
Fantastic. Well, I want to talk with you a little bit about branding, especially as a design, because I know you're a creative director, and I feel like the word brand has kind of become synonymous with logo. And it really bothers me when I see someone say that they're rebranding and they need a new logo and they're not considering anything else that goes into it. So how do you define a brand instead of just a business?
So, I mean, I feel like your brand represents the whole entire experience. So if I meet you in person, like I met you, I think last year, like I just think you were really fun and smiley and nice, and, like you were on it. So like I consider like what a brand is. So like if I go to Starbucks, and if I, they say, hi, how can I greet you? They're just really nice. How are you greeted? How do you treat your customers? What does your brand look like inside and out, digitally and non-digitally? Like, what does everything encompass all into one? Like, I don't know if that's the clear answer that you're looking for, but it's basically everything. It's obviously your logo and the brand design elements are important, but it's really so much more than that. And I think it's really easy to say, oh my gosh, I want this fancy logo, but I'm honestly a designer who's kind of stayed away from the brand work until this last 6 months, because with good design, your brand can kind of grow with you. And that's where I focus more than other things. And I've specialized more in sales page design, and I still do sales pages, but I've literally had clients take the designs that we create for their sales page and use it as inspiration for like their webinar slides and for their pricing graphics and for their website design and for everything. So
yes.
I think it's just everything.
It is. Someone told me once to think of a brand as how someone feels every time they interact with any piece of your business.
Yes.
And I think that that's so spot on, because it is in person. It is your website. It is your business card. And it's not just about the way it looks. It's about how you make someone feel every time they come into contact with you.
Yes, totally agree.
So what is one error that you see over and over again when it comes to businesses and their branding that just drives you crazy?
They just aren't consistent.
Like, so they are like across channels or within the website.
So like they want to upgrade their brand, but they haven't really done the maybe not so fun work of like deciding what their goals are and learning how they want to be represented in the world. And who their
yes.
ideal client is and what they would want their website to look like. Like, what's the action you want people to take on your website? They don't do the fundamental stuff that goes beyond a brand mood board. And hey, I love me a gorgeous brand mood board. But if you don't have like your business life together, like it's not going to go well. And I know that like there's a lot of work that you have to do when you run a business. You're the CEO, the CFO, you're all of these different things. And I know that there's a lot to do, but taking the time to just decide what you want to be known for, like that will just make everything else so clear. Who you work with, who you don't, what your offerings are.
That's huge.
So yeah, I mean, that's the biggest mistake. They're trying to look beautiful without doing the fundamental stuff that is like the foundation of their business.
Yes, that's so huge. And that fundamental stuff, like especially the ideal client stuff, which I walk my students through like all the time, will influence every single decision that you make in your business, not just your brand. These decisions need to be thought about well in advance so that you can make the decision on your brand. Because if you know your ideal client in and out, you can look at a color and say, no, she won't like that.
Yeah. And I think that there's like this weird awkward transition period. Like because I mentor designers as well, kind of like as a side, not a side gig, but it's something new that I'm building. And the biggest struggle that most of them face is they want to work with clients. I'm like, okay, well, what kind of services do you offer? Who do you want to work with? What kind of clients are the most ideal for you to partner with right now? And they don't know. And I'm like, well, the first thing you have to do is decide and actually go get that client work before you would even do the brand work, because you may decide, okay, I'm really good at this. I'm passionate about this, and I'm really naturally talented at this, and I'm an expert at this, but I hate doing it, or maybe you hate your process. So you could build a brand like around being like I could have built a brand all these years around being a branding expert, but I didn't really find my niche until a few years ago. So it didn't really make sense. So,
well, so many people are afraid to be specific too. Like I meet photographers all the time. They're like, well, I want to work with all the families. And I'm like, well, you're just one person. Like that's not even possible.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that photography and design, like at the end of the day, you can probably help anyone look good via a good design or via a great photograph. But like, I can tell you that when I specialized to only do sales page design, and that's still like my main bread and butter, but I'm offering branding now to bring it back in to the life, because there's such a need for people to just like feel cool, calm, and collected about the way that they rebrand or restructure who they want to be known for. But it's not your job to work with everybody. Like other like designers, for example, I know photographers probably have the same thing. They'll be like, oh my gosh, this person is only charging $500 for a website design. I'm like, okay, let those clients who want to pay $500 for a not very good website go with him. They're probably out and they need them. Like, okay, you go work with the clients you want to work with. Let him work with his clients. And it's like, it is okay. Like there's enough business for all of us creative people, I think. But anyway.
There is. Yeah, no, that's an abundance mindset though, that I feel like is not as common as I would love to see it be.
No, we're not really taught like that. Like, I don't know any designer who went to school and knows how to properly operate their business from a point of believing that it's going to happen. And that's the biggest thing that I teach these girls. Like, they know how to design. They don't need me to teach them that. They need me to teach them, or they need to be shown that success is possible and taught to believe in themselves. So that
is so true.
When you do that, like think about all the boundaries that people cross. Like, you know, you finish a website, or let's say you finish some photos for someone and they still want you to edit 15 more when you only said that your package included this. Well, then there's an extra cost, but then you just want to do it for free because you feel bad charging. You don't want to mess with it. And then it's like you're giving all your time away for free, and you're not thinking about those boundaries and knowing your brand and who you want to serve and those elements. As your business grows and you figure out more what you want to be known for, it just makes your life so much easier, I think.
It does. It absolutely does. It makes your life easier. It makes things more clear too. You're definitely more clear on the type of work that you will do or you won't do. And you're more clear on who you will work with and who you won't. It clears up so many cloudy areas that we have, especially in the beginning stages of business. To have those boundaries in place just helps so much.
Yes, for sure. Like what you said, everything.
So how does having a brand instead of a business really translate into a website and the strategy and the design behind it?
So the way that you build a brand for your business, I think that's what you're asking, is you just you decide like what the overall look and feel for. And one of the most important elements is good photography. Like I can't tell you, like I've been doing some creative direction work, and through a mutual source, I ended up doing it for someone who I've looked up to for a really long time, and it was totally like abundance. It just like manifested itself, but it was so much fun to pick the photos from a designer's perspective to see how they would look on their website. It's photo oriented. So I mean, I waited 5 years to get photos done for my business. Like I had them done like by a friend, and then I got new ones taken, and I'm so glad that I did. So good photography, like that's properly planned with like props and poses that you can use in, any type of, what photos be on your website. So good photography for sure. Obviously you would want to wear your brand colors, and, going through the whole mood board where you choose patterns, fonts, your logo, typefaces, illustration elements that you're going to possibly have, and anything else, like that's a really great thing to have, because it's like the baseline and foundation for what the visual part of it's going to look like. And then from there, like there's the strategy. So what do you want your visitors to do when they first come to your website? Like what's the action you want them to take? What are the top words that are going to be on your hero section? Are you wanting them to opt in? Do you want them to book a discovery call? Do you want them to follow you on social media? Like what kind of a platform are you building so that you can create the presence online that will match if you met me in person, or if you met me, on a webinar, or if you saw me speak at an event? Would it all be cohesive, and would it all match? Well, yes, you want it to.
Yes, absolutely. I think that people just throw up a website and they put like maybe a picture of themselves with their dog in the backyard, and then they don't understand why it's not working very well. Yeah. And having those professional photos and brand stories, and again, how are you making someone feel when they get to your website? Are they feeling frustrated because the links aren't working? Are they feeling confused because they don't know where to go next? There needs to be a clear path and a strategy behind the website that is so integrated with the brand and how it looks and feels.
Yes, no, for sure. And I also, I'm totally glad you brought up the links, because I did not mention that. But also like the mobile aspects, like I think that people are like, oh, I don't want to mess with that. Well, you need to mess with that, because everybody has their phone in their hand at all times, almost.
Yes.
So it's a necessary evil. I know some people would consider it an evil, but at the end of the day, to build your brand and to build your following or your audience or your potential customers, like you have to meet them where they're at, whether or not that's convenient for you.
Yes. Yes. And recently, within the last year or so, Google announced that mobile first indexing is taking place now, meaning if your website is not mobile compatible, you could be dinged for SEO. And that's just not worth it. Like it has to be cohesive. It has to be consistent, even in the mobile site.
Yes, for sure.
Definitely. I love it. I think that branding is something that so many entrepreneurs don't really consider, and they don't think about it in a way that will be successful for them. They think about it in terms of colors and a logo, and those things are important. But again, we want to go back to the emotions. People don't buy from logic, they buy from emotion. So if we can tap into their emotions and say, hey, this is how I can serve you, and this is how I want you to feel during this entire process, then we encourage them to book with us instead of being part of a checklist or a bullet point when they're comparing people.
Yeah, for sure. And I also just want to say that there's a transition period. And when you're first starting out, like, I don't want the first thing you do is to get at like a fancy website and work on this. Like, once you've kind of honed in on your craft and you know who you are, then spend the time to do the website the right way. Like Brooke has just spoken of, and myself a little bit too, because I don't want you to worry about the fact that you don't have a perfect website when at the end of the day, you need to be bringing in money and revenue.
Yes.
Like, those things obviously have to come first. I know a lot of people who focus their investments more on conversion design and, brand campaigns before they do the overall big picture brand. And I don't necessarily think there's anything wrong with that. I want you to not wait forever. But if you just started your business 6 months ago and you're barely on your feet yet, which is okay, we've all been there, then give yourself 6 more months, really set some goals, go after them, and then next year start working on your new brand plan.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, especially when it comes to a website, sometimes they're just teeny tiny little tweaks. It doesn't have to be like a complete website overhaul. Sometimes it's just adding a link here or a link there that would take you 5 minutes to do instead of completely scrapping your website and starting over from scratch.
Yes, for sure, for sure.
I love it. So if you could tell creative entrepreneurs to do one thing on their website and they would all follow your advice, what would it be?
I'm going to cheat because I'm going to give you 1.5. One,
okay.
Get a beautiful photo of yourself and put it on the top hero section of your page.
Of the homepage?
Yeah, of the homepage in the section, just so that we can see who you look like. Because if you're going to be taking our photos or designing for us, we want to see you. Yes. That's the first thing. And then make sure that page looks good on mobile and everywhere else.
Yes, absolutely. Do you have a preferred website platform?
I prefer the website platform that I don't have to touch.
Oh yeah, well, that's a good answer.
I do like the back end of Squarespace. I think it's very user friendly. Mm-hmm. However, if you want to do something more custom, I know that it's a little bit more complicated for a developer to do. So my websites are on WordPress.
Interesting. I've never worked in the back end of Squarespace. I know I have helped several people with Squarespace, but personally, I'm a WordPress girl, so Squarespace is very foreign to me.
Yeah, no, again, I'm also a WordPress girl, but I have multiple sites and they're all created on WordPress, but I know that I've been on the back end of Squarespace. One of my clients, I did a podcast website design for them, and they wanted Squarespace, so we made it happen.
Nice. I love it. Well, what is something that you are looking forward to in the next year in your life, your business? What is going to change for you? Especially in the branding. You said you're bringing in branding instead of doing just sales pages now.
Yes.
Did you see a need for that because people had like this terrible website and an amazing sales page?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, yeah, people are, most of the clients I've had, which they're creative people, but most of the people I work with have a very established business. They've launched before, and they focus a lot more of their effort, energy, and investments on launching programs, courses, masterminds, and stuff like that. So they're maybe more willing to spend their money on a sales page at this point than they are a website. That doesn't mean the website won't come. It just means they're really focused on bringing in revenue.
Yes.
So, what was the question again? I'm so sorry.
That's okay. What are you looking forward to in the next year? What's going to change for you in your business that you're excited about?
So I am completely rebranding. And what's exciting about it is that I am creating I'm creating all kinds of different things. Like there's going to be a course and there's going to be, which again, that's not even ready yet. Like there's not even a waitlist page for it. I'm going to be creating a course to help people really come up with these foundational items that it may not be so fun to do on your own, so that you can go to a designer and feel prepared and not feel ripped off when you work with one, because that's a whole nother story for another day. People have bad experiences with designers, but if you can be empowered and know who you are and what you want to do. So while I'm creating my own, I'm working on this brand new guide that basically is like my brand, everything I'm redoing. Here's how you can do it too, which is really exciting for me because I love, like, processes are one of my superpowers. I didn't know about that. And when I realized it was really helpful for me. So I'm working on that, and I'm offering big picture design clarity sessions with people so that we can kind of get to the bottom of, again, these not so fun things. And honestly, for me, I hired a copywriter because I didn't really know how to position myself other than a sales page designer, because that's been primarily what I'm known for. But now I'm mentoring designers, not on a huge scale, but it's still really great to kind of build that community and do that. I'm creating a podcast for them, and there's all these lead magnets for that side of the business. And then there's the website design, creative direction, and the brand. So there's and still sales pages. So I actually hired a copywriter to help me with that. So I'm just excited to kind of get on the phone with people to help them, map out how they're going to make their money, how they're going to represent, who they want to be known to work for, and just give them some inspiration for what things could look like. So it's not necessarily that I'm going to be designing or doing anything. It's more of a brainstorm sesh so that I can take whatever your biggest struggle is and make it really easy, because that's what I do.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
I love it. When it comes to the copywriter, what has your experience been with that? I feel like that's one thing I hold on to so tightly is the copy.
So my dream is to be like a millionaire so I can just outsource all my copy. Because I believe, and as someone who makes money doing design work and creative direction, I truly believe that a copywriter is one of the best investments you can make in your business. I don't even do a sales page until I've seen the sales page. And
wow,
it's almost to the point to where it is to the point, let's be real. I don't work on a sales page unless I've seen the copy and I know the copywriter, or at least I know that this entrepreneur is successful at their launches. They actually bring in profit revenue from them, because it's getting to those pain points. They have a secret superpower that, I'm not bad at copy. Let's be real. I'm maybe a B-. I invest in copy for I invested in the copy for my home and my about page. I invest in the copy for both of my sales pages. And so for 2 of my sales pages, and then the other ones I've kind of just figured it out on my own using a mean foundation that I already have, because I do so many sales pages. But yeah, I feel like where your audience is going to be influenced to convert, I feel like a copywriter will take your chances of not converting to more, you'll increase your conversions by using
interesting,
because they can see the pain points and the struggles more than you can, and they can use the language that they use. The whole bit where you do the research and get the language of what your ideal client struggles with, so you can use that. They can pull out those exact stories from you, because most of the time we offer services that complement. We offer services that kind of benefit where we've been. We've solved their own problems, so now we're solving other people's problems. If that makes sense. So they can pull out those stories that you wouldn't have even have thought to tell, and they've got this magic art of doing that. So yes, for sure. For me, it's, and I'm going to be doing a different launch for designers too, where there's going to be an accelerator, and it's going to be for 8 to 12 weeks. I haven't fully decided yet, but no, I'm totally have an editor. Actually, she's my editor for sales pages. She edits everything to make sure, because if you have a 7,000 word page and you're going from 3 to 20 different versions of the design, and then that many more versions of the developed page and the mobile, I can't do that. I have to have someone in my who has better brain power at that than me. So yes, she's actually lined up to help me with my my follow-up emails and my sales page copy for that launch later. Oh,
that's amazing.
So yeah, sorry.
Yeah, that's one thing I just hold on to with both hands, man. And I don't know. I struggle. I struggle to give that one up.
You have to get the right one, and the good ones are honestly booked, and they're not in cheap investment, and rightfully so yeah.
Yeah, that skill is definitely an art for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Well, let's talk about, I know that when you say sales page, I know what you're talking about just because of the environment that I'm in. But for someone who is a service provider, so maybe they're a cake decorator, or maybe they're a coach, they're a service provider, what type of sales page aspects can they incorporate into their website? Maybe on the contact page, maybe on different pages of their website.
So, and this is for photographers, right?
Well, photographers and cake decorators. I'm trying to think of all of the listeners, but I do work with a lot of photographers, basically creative service providers.
Okay. So I think that the important thing, like, and this is like a sales page / website tip, when you have a page that you would consider a landing page, and a landing page is just like where you have one specific purpose for the page. So like the home page of your website will kind of give people an introduction to you and give them a place or two or three to take their next action. The about page will talk about you and your story and who you serve and how you help them and all that stuff. But like a landing page would be where you want to collect an email address, or a sales page would be where you want to sell an offer. You want to keep the navigation on those pages. Like there should be no navigation. Like the only action they should do is buy from you or click within the sales page.
Okay. So like take out the menu?
Take out the menu. Yeah.
Really interesting.
Not necessarily maybe the contact page, because that may be different, but like if there's a page where someone's going to inquire with you, create like an inquiry form that like really helps you get to know their client. Like I have a massive one on my sales page on purpose. Like I get to know the client, what their revenue goals are, how many people they've served in their course, the name of their course, who's on their team. Like, and if you're a photographer, think about, how many people are in your family, where are a couple of ideal locations for us to do the shoot? What color do you think you guys will be wearing? How old are your kids? Is there a better time, that your little ones especially like aren't going to be tired or hungry? Like just coming up with these things that tell you a lot more about your ideal client and giving them the tools to tell you versus you having to email back and forth or Facebook message back and forth or whatever your communication tool is, just making it so easy for them.
I agree. I actually ask a few questions on my contact form for the photography side of my business that some people think are really weird, but I can tell almost immediately whether someone will book me or not based on those questions. And quite frankly, if they don't answer these questions or they just kind of blow them off, then it's probably not a client I want to work with anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure. Because I've had people say, will you get on the phone with me? And my answer is no. So I don't know the necessary contact page, but I don't know that you would even want to have a contact page on your website unless you want people to reach out to you and ask you questions. If you can create the different like offer pages, even if it's just like, okay, this is the photography session, here's how this works, this is the cost, here are some samples of my work. Like I think for photographers especially, and even cake decorators, it could be really, really simple. The sales pages I create are like very big, ginormous courses or coaching services or whatever. So they require a lot more length than a sales page. But if you have an inquiry form on, if you have 4 different inquiry forms, which one for each of your services, then all they have to do is fill out the inquiry form. You're not going to get distracted by clicking on your Instagram link or by your, everything else. We want them to fill out the form.
Yes, absolutely. And that's part of the website strategy in deciding what your goal is for every page.
For sure.
It drives me crazy when people tell me, well, I don't have a goal. Well, you need to have a goal for every page of your website. What action do you want someone to take when they arrive onto this page?
For sure.
And that is that's interesting, taking out the navigation though. I haven't thought about that.
Well,
So just keeping it super simple.
That's only on the navigation page. Like, I don't want you to create like 5 pages on your website without navigation. Like, these are pages that are created solely for you to work with them.
Sure.
So yeah,
understood. So that'd be more like a booking page then for a service provider.
Yeah, for sure.
That makes sense. With like calendar or however someone would go about working with you. That makes sense.
Yes.
That sounds amazing. I love it. Well, what do you have going on? Where can people find you? What's happening? What's going to blow up in your world in the next few months?
So lots of things are happening, and I'm really excited to be doing these branding sessions for the next few months, just to really get in deep and help people make their rebrand process, and figuring out who they want to be known for is super easy, because all of that is going to help me create the course, which will probably come out in the fall. And it's going to be called Identity with Ambition. It will just help you create what you're going to look like, so that if the Today Show or the Ellen Show, which I've had clients on both of those shows, like called you tomorrow, you know exactly who you were, what you stood for. And like, if they called you back in a week, you would feel confident to like go there and talk about everything you do.
That's huge. I love it. And you have big picture brand strategy sessions. Is that like done over the phone, or how do you do those?
So those are done via GoToMeeting. So we'll get on, we can see each other's faces. And so I'll be sharing my screen, and we'll literally just dive into where they're struggling. So I have 6 areas where I could potentially help someone, but if you need more help on the strategy side of your business, we'll kind of do that too. So it's kind of a pick my brain for your brand type session.
Perfect.
But there's also specific ones that they can choose as well.
I love it. Thank you so much for being here today. I feel like branding is something that so many people miss, so many people don't take advantage of, and that emotion that's built into a brand can make such a difference with even just getting someone to contact you, someone to book, someone to buy from you. And it has so much to do with your ideal clients as well, and really booking the people that you love to work with instead of the people that drain you.
Yes, for sure.
That is huge. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Melissa. I am so excited to get this out into the world, and I just appreciate you so much. I look forward to seeing what you're going to do, because I know that another strength of yours is launching, which we didn't talk about at all today, but processes and all of that good stuff. I personally love processes. I come up with them for my family too. It drives my family crazy, but I'm like, okay, so when we close up for the night, here's the checklist.
Oh my gosh, you have my brain. I love it. Like, so you probably have a spouse who's like, on Friday nights, they maybe want to chill and have a beer. And I'm like, we're going to go pull weeds, and we're going to go to the basement. Yep. And then we need to go here, and we have 30 inches of the living room that needs to be cleaned. And he's like, dude, shh, it's Friday night.
Yes,
I love it. Sorry.
Well, and we just got a new patio set in the backyard, so that we can sit. It has a fire pit in it, which is awesome, but it has covers. So every night I'm like, okay, checklist, covers need to go on the patio set, toys need to be out of the grass so the sprinklers don't destroy them, things like that.
Oh, I love it.
Checklists are beautiful.
I'm not that far with my life, but we'll get there for my kids, but eventually.
Well, I have a 13-year-old, so he's capable of that right now. My 3-year-old, not so much.
No, I have an almost 16-year-old, and he's capable, but you give him the list, and maybe he'll do it. And if I'm not making sure it doesn't happen, the other day he was like, I didn't vacuum because I didn't think it needed to be vacuumed upstairs. I'm like, buddy, like, no, you don't decide that. That's not the point. Oh,
right?
That's hard.
That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much for being here. And I am excited to see what you have coming in the next year, especially your course in the fall. And we'll talk soon.
Yes, thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.